All right, it's November 2025, and I wanted to do a ranking of the books I read this year. So the first book on the list is going to be Falling Angel by William. I believe it's Hjortsberg. This was actually a late 2024 book, but I had to put it on here because I loved this book. A couple things about me. I love detective books. I love cults. I love books about Satanism. I love books about the devil. And this, I mean, I've never read a book like this where the basic plot is that there's a detective main character and he's been tasked with finding out about a singer who vanished, and as it goes on there's conspiracies and cults and all this evil magic going on, and it leads to, truthfully, one of the best twists. I mean, I remember reading it and my jaw slowly hitting the floor as I realized what was really going on. It's violent, it's ugly, it's noir, it's gritty. This book, I hate to come right out of the gate, and maybe I'll drop it down to A. You know what? No. This was an S tier book, and I literally, even though this was a December 2024 book, I wanted to talk about this. If you're into cults, if you're into noir, if you're into detective stuff, this is way up there. I have tried so desperately to find another book like this that is so unapologetically evil. Like the tiniest spoiler ever. This is one of the only books I've read where the devil is a character and people slowly realize the devil is one of the characters, and by the end of the book, the devil is the main character. There's no Scooby-Doo. It's actually the guy who runs the local dishwasher company. It is the literal devil. I loved it. That is an S tier book for me in every way. And the next one, which again, this was an end of the year 2024, is The Ministry for the Future by Kim Stanley Robinson. I had read Red Mars before, and that'll be a review in the future. I thought Red Mars was very good, but not engaging, and I would say this is the same thing. The plot is that it's very, it's very much Kim Stanley Robinson, where it's a series of time jumps and articles and headlines and stories that tell a large story that is very global. It's about our future where climate change has gone over the threshold and the earth is officially, in trouble. And the opening chapter, I think, is what really defines it and is what dragged me in, where there is a wet bulb event in India, and it leads to the death of, millions, if not tens of millions. And then you get these glimpses of the political action that the world takes, and there's, terrorism, and there's kidnappings, and there's all of this political turmoil. And I think the first third of it is very fun to read. I think Robinson very much knows, it feels like what would happen, but at the same time, you do feel the hopelessness of it. You do feel that the political powers really have no way to really do anything. And then it resorts to things that I just don't think would happen. I'll just straight up say the scene where the book lost me was where these terrorists, I guess, they kidnap a bunch of the richest people in the whole world for about 3 to 5 days. And that's to show these people what life is like to live in these horrible climate zones. And in my head, I'm like, up to that point, it felt like a realistic book. And after that, I was like, this wouldn't happen. The way it plays out in the book, it wouldn't happen. And it's a large book. It's 700 pages or so. And it became a real slog. I hate to put this in the C category. I'll put it in the B category. I think if you liked Red Mars, you'll also like this. I think if you like Kim Stanley Robinson, you'll like it. But if by page 150 you're starting to fall out of it, you can stop there. It's a great concept, but it's really the fault of our own world that that the positive outcomes that he's trying to move towards just won't happen. All right, next up was The City and Its Uncertain Walls by Haruki Murakami. This was fun because I got really into Murakami in 2023, and by the end of this year, I've read all of his novels. And when a new book by a new book by your favorite author comes out, it's really fun, right? So this is kind of like a retelling of Hard-Boiled Wonderland and the End of the World. It's good, but every author has so many stories in them. And, it's a joke to say that Murakami is just writing the same story over and over. In this case, he literally is. It really is Hard-Boiled Wonderland, but from a different point of view, in a way. It's good. It's interesting. It's got that Murakami magic, that kind of draws you in. It's not overtly long. I think it's only about 400 pages. So, you can finish it and be like, okay, that was okay. It doesn't drag, but at the same time, it doesn't pull me in. It doesn't leave me feeling like I just read something mind-blowing. As far as the Murakami book, I would, it's going to be, when I do a ranking video, it would be near the bottom. I would say this is a solid B. It's not awful, but it could have been, it's what he wanted to write. That brings me to Babel, which was a Christmas present. And this is such a hard one because this book so there's a very famous book by R.F. Kuang, and I remember I kept seeing the cover in bookstores. I'm like, that's a really cool cover. And someone actually got it for me for Christmas. And then on the plane ride home, I read this book in 3 days, literally. I couldn't stop reading it. The first third couldn't be better. It feels so enthralling, engrossing, so cool. It's got a little bit of magic, just a little bit of magic. It's got all of the themes of colonialism, the history of China, the Opium Wars. It's got so much going for it. The main character is very fun to be with. It's a very well-rounded set of characters that dragged me in, and I loved it. The middle third was enthralling, where there is violence and a war, and there are stakes and there are choices. And then the last third just fell off a cliff for me. I hate saying that. I really do. There is, if you ever do read it, I've given this book to a few people and said, hey, get to this part where something big happens and then just stop and then write your own ending in your head, because it drags on, not for 50 pages, not for 100 pages, for 200 pages. It just drags on. And I remember I gave it to a student of mine and who was 13 or 14, and she had literally the same opinion. She came to me and she said, man, this is so good, but it's still going and it's so boring. I'll give it a B. Because the first 300 pages are so good, and I loved it so much, and I want to read more by her, but I just don't know. It was just so bloated at the end. I couldn't stand it, but I thought the first 300 pages were awesome. Next up, we have South of the Border, West of the Sun by Haruki Murakami. This is fun. It's not long. It is one of his salary man, even though the main character, he's actually a manager of a bar, a jazz bar, which is what Murakami did before he became a writer. So there's a little bit of a insert of the author, but this felt like a sequel to me to Norwegian Wood. I've often said Norwegian Wood, the crux of that book is that the book is actually a flashback. A lot of people don't realize that if they've only read it one time, but the book is a flashback of a man on a plane when he's 38. And so therefore in Norwegian Wood, all of these memories of love and loss and drama, that's all in the past. And I always felt like this was a novel about a man who's married, who is thinking about his past and wondering if he made the right choices and such. That it's just a continuation of that theme and that story. It's it's hard to put it in the A tier because it doesn't break any new ground. It doesn't do something new, but it's very fun to read. And when Murakami is going, when he's firing on all cylinders, when he's in that mojo realm, I think it's great. I think it's awesome. I hate to put it in the A tier because it's not doing things that are new. I guess I'll put it in the B tier, but with but I'll say if you like Murakami, it's going to be an A tier book because you read it very quickly and it hits all the right notes. It's just him at his best. It's an Aerosmith song that's got all of the right riffs and the chorus is in the right place and it doesn't do anything new, but it's really fun to sing along with. Next up is 2001: A Space Odyssey by Arthur C. Clarke. This was a gift by the librarian at my school. So I had read this when I was like 13 and I loved it. And then at my school, I saw it on the shelf. And whenever I took my kids down to read, I would grab it off the shelf and get in like 12 pages. And after 2 weeks of this, she just gave it to me. She goes, "No kid's going to read it. Just take it." So this was revisiting a favorite and it's fantastic. It's a solid A. I just don't want to put it in S tier because I am trying to save that for those books where it's like, you've got to read this, or maybe you've got to read this. I don't know. It's really 2 stories. There's the part where they're it's really 3 stories. It's the part where they're on Earth, where the ape men are finding the stone statue. Then there's a part on the moon. Then there's the trip to, I believe, Jupiter. And it's great science fiction. It's fun. It's a little dry. The characters aren't very interesting, but there's something there. It's always fun to read. It's not bloated. It doesn't overstay the welcome. It is a fun to read book. And I watched the movie. I'd never seen the movie before. I'm going to piss a few people off. I finished the book and I told my wife, hey, why don't we watch this movie? It's supposed to be the greatest film ever. We watched it and I thought it stunk. I don't know what to say. I thought it really stunk. I didn't like it at all. But, hey, I'm an idiot. What do I know? But I thought that the book actually handled the acidy, trippy sections much better than the film. In the film, it's just footage with, color gradients. But in the book, I get a real sense of where they're going, of all the things that are going on, of all that's happening in his mind. The ending is really good. And at the end, I mean, me personally, I don't need things to wrap up. And I thought that it was a great ending. I think it's awesome. And I remember I did read all 3 of the sequels. Part 4 was not written by Clarke, but I have read all 3 of them now. I remember really enjoying them. I'd like to read them again one day. But anyway. Next up is Strange Pictures by Uketsu. This is a Japanese experimental picture book of sorts. I was really excited to read this. I read a lot of Japanese fiction. I try to, and I thought it had a great premise. The premise is that it's a bunch of unjoined short stories. Each one's 30 to 40 pages, where the characters uncover in this very horror movie kind of way some type of deep, dark secret based on photos or a picture or something. And it's a gimmick, and they put the picture in the book, and you see them, construct the picture and take it apart. But, and I think there's 6 stories. The first one is the best one, which is going to come up again in a very similar book. And I don't know what to say. It stunk. I give this an absolute D tier. I hated this book. I thought the first one was fine, but it's at no point do the scares or the twists feel earned in any way. It feels like it's very ham-fisted. They have to drag you along, and it's not like that thing where you fold the Mad Magazine thing and go, the almighty dollar, wow! It's very much like you have to really squint your eyes and turn it around to see what they're trying to do. Total skip, and I think there's a sequel out. I can't imagine that this book really takes a lot of effort, I guess you could say. But, yeah, D tier, total skip. Next up, The Memory Police by Yoko Ogawa. I love this book. I'm really debating between A or S tier. This is a amazing mix of Brave New World loneliness mixed with 1984 dystopian state that is always taking, mixed with, a Japanese sense of longing and stoicism. It's about a state where the government, as they they don't explain it so much, but they give you enough to where you can understand the rules of this world, whereas the government can't fulfill the needs of the people, they make the people forget that they ever needed the thing. So if they can't supply, I'm trying to think of a few of them, but if they can't supply rice, then they make the people forget that they ever needed rice, and nobody remembers that there ever even was rice. And it goes on to, or if they want people to not have things like novels, then people forget that novels are a thing. And then you have a very Fahrenheit 451 setup where they physically go into buildings and take things away and burn things. So, and the main character in this very Japanese way, I lived in Japan for several years, and I always tell people, there's a character of the country, and it comes through in this book where there's no reason to complain about these changes. This is just how things are going to go. But there is a dramatic push going on where they've got to hide somebody, and there's the cops are always right there, and there's always a lot of drama and tension and fear. And I found the book to be so sad. I found the book to be so dramatic. It's a great it's a very unique dystopian concept. I would put that in the S tier. If you're going to read 5 books a year, that would be one of them. I loved it so much. I plan on reading it again. If not this year, then next year, because we're all reading 10,000 books, right? But I love this book. I think it's so creative, so sad, so ingenious, absolutely up there. I'll skip American Tabloid because that's really a whole thing. And I'll go, so the next up is How High We Go in the Dark by Sequoia Nagamatsu, I believe. I'll just tell you now, this is a C tier book. It's again where there's, 8 chapters, and each chapter is separate, but the idea is that the world is going through this virus that is killing young people first, and it's all about slice of life looks into how different people handle it. The first chapter is very famous, I believe. Or actually, no, it's the second chapter. The second chapter, I feel is what people remember. It's where there's a theme park for children that are dying of this plague, and there's a man who I think he's one of the guy in the goofy suit who has to make kids laugh when knowing that they're going to die, and they put him on this ride that kills the kids, so they go out screaming in joy. And I get it, but it just, there was nothing there. There's no continued plot. It's all just little 40-page sections. There's another book I read that's like this, and to me, there was just nothing there. It felt ham-fisted. It felt not earned. Everything just felt so, this week on a very special, episode of Cheers. It felt just so 1980s, after school special to me. C tier, did not enjoy it, thought it was very cheap. I read the first Quarry, which is under a lot of different titles. Quarry is a 1970s era pulp crime series. The first book is called The Broker. I'll just tell you now, I put it in the C tier. There is a television show that was on Max back in 2015 or something, and it's one of my favorite shows ever. There's only 8 episodes, and me and my wife watched it, and we were I'm enthralled. I think it's one of those perfect shows in so many ways. It's so good. And I was like, you know what? I like crime books. I should read it. It's fine. It's got the usual hits. There's a betrayal and a twist, and there's a lot of sex and a lot of innuendo about drugs and killing people in airports and stuff, and it's fine, but it doesn't feel like there's anything keeping it all together. It feels like someone had 8 plot points and 20 scenes and then just wrapped a bunch of tape on it. Maybe the sequels are better, but it was fine. What can I say? It wasn't that good. It was okay. I'm debating if I should put American Tabloid up now or later. I'm debating. Let's just go for it. American Tabloid. So this is actually part of the American Underworld series by James Ellroy. So it's American Tabloid, The Cold 6000, and Blood's a Rover. There we go. Pure S tier. This is 2,000 plus pages of one series, and I devoured it. This changed the way I look at novels in every way. It is, so the books tell the story. I always sell it to people as the first novel, American Tabloid, is the story of the gangsters that killed Kennedy, basically, right? So it starts in 1958, I believe. The first book ends in 1963 with the murder of Kennedy. Then the Cold 6000 starts that same day and rides us through, I believe, 1969. And then Blood's a Rover, Part 3, takes us through the 70s. It is a grim, pessimistic, inside look into the fascist state that we all are, living in. It is about the CIA, the mafia, the gangsters, corrupt cops, drug dealers. It is about that deep politics world of, Peter Dale Scott brought to life through these characters. Each character is some disgusting fascist. Like, each character is a crooked cop, a spook, a agent, a fed, a gangster, something, some type of turncoat, some type of traitor who is out for money, for glory, for women, for fame, for something. They are living these disgusting worlds of crime. They are, there's a part, for instance, I mean, there are so many parts. You have 2,000 plus pages of the greatest gangster crime stuff I've ever read in my life. And one of the characters needs money. So he tracks down some dope dealers, stakes out their stuff, kills them, takes the key to their stash, takes their stash, sells it, and now he's got money for the next 100 pages to do all of the crimes that they need to get done. It is meticulously researched. I've never seen a book that made crimes feel so real. When you read a book by like Peter Dale Scott and you read about civil air transport, when you read about moving drugs from, Bangkok to Cambodia, back to France, and then to like New York, these characters are living that life. And I've never seen it portrayed in such a relatable way by characters that are off the wall. They speak with pure vitriolic hatred for everybody around them. They are racist, they are homophobic, they hate communists, they hate WASPs, they hate women, they hate other drug dealers, they hate Cubans, they hate gangsters, they hate Hoover, they hate Kennedy, they hate everything. And somehow, some way through that, there are still main characters that you kind of root for in ways. There's one character that in his final score, he has to get on a boat and slit men's throats and murder people and steal drugs so he can get out of that life, and you're rooting for him even though they've killed Kennedy, for instance, right? If you're into history, if you're into crime, if you're into anything, these are must-read books, and it's now sent me down a James Ellroy's fever, where I'm going to read every book that he's written, and I've got 2 more to add, and next year I plan on reading many more books by him. But it is rare for me to read a book that redefines, like, I never thought you could have a series of this length and not really have main characters. Like, there aren't really main characters. There are, but they exist to do things, right? Like, I don't know a lot about them because they don't want anything. These main characters just want chaos. It is gripping, breathtaking fiction. I cannot talk about it enough. If you read anything in 2026, read American Tabloid by James Ellroy. And if you liked it in any way, you've got to read the sequels. They each deserve their own book or video. But yeah, S tier. Now, let's talk about a book I absolutely hated. That would be Wake Up and Open Your Eyes by Clay McLeod Chapman. D tier. I would make it an F tier if I could. I went into this book, ready. So the premise is that Fox News and the Trump media sphere is hypnotizing boomers and turning them into this cult of, exorcist style demons mixed with zombies who masturbate with crosses and they're pissing themselves in their moo-moos, and I'm no fan of Donald Trump. I'm no fan of this, government we have in place. But this just felt like the cheapest book ever. I mean, this is literally the ogres at the gate. This is just the cheapest characterization of an unknown evil that you can think of. This is anti-Lovecraft. I thought it was so. This is not the beast that can't be fathomed. This is my mother watched Sean Hannity and now she's masturbating with a cross and pissing her pants. This is bloated. This is the main character saying 3 phrases over and over and over again. The book takes place over the course of a few hours, but my God, it feels like weeks. There is one plot point. There is one time bomb. As I said, the American Underworld trilogy takes place over 20 years or so, with about 10 main characters that rise and fall, that die, that backstab, that cheat. This book takes place over about less than one day. Nothing happens. And in the first 9 pages, they blow their wad. He shows you everything they've got. It is so cheap. I thought it was pure crap. And I hate to talk about people that I like and people who might, other channels and such. But if anybody, because I've seen people oh my God, what an inventive book. I feel like you are just really blinded by the concept of Trump being an actual mind virus. If that grips you, then okay, go for it. But I just did not like it in any way. Let's go with Gillian Flynn's Sharp Objects. This is a book. They made a show on it. I believe it was on Netflix or HBO or something. And I before I start, I gotta say that the show did it better. But this is a really good thriller. This is a really good thriller with a great concept of murder in a small town. A girl a woman going back to her hometown to investigate that murder. She's a journalist, and then all of the dark secrets come out, all of the skeletons in the closet. There's more that, there's always tension, always drama, always fear. There's the main villain, which is her mother, who's one of the best villains ever. I mean, a frail woman in her 60s who's just terrifying with the emotional grip she has on her daughter and the city, frankly. And there's a lot of twists and turns. There's a lot of shocks, a lot of surprises. My only complaint, there's general complaints about, maybe it should be shorter here or, bigger there. But, the end, the last 30 pages could have been an extra 100 pages easily. It's well written, lots of fun stuff. I give it an A. Really good stuff. I do think the show is better, but Sharp Objects is really, really good. Next up is Goodbye Sugumi by Banana Yoshimoto. B-tier book. Doesn't break any ground. It's emotional. It's about a woman who has a sister who is perennially sick, and she's always dying. Her death is a ticking time bomb for the family. She could come at any time. And it's about her long goodbye to her sister. And spoiler alert, she does die at some point. And it's just got that Japanese somberness, that Japanese sadness. It doesn't break new ground. It doesn't do new things. But it's very well written. And if you've ever lost a loved one, I think it'll speak a lot to you. I think it's a very good book. Let's move down to Galveston by Nic Pizzolatto. Nic Pizzolatto wrote, he's the main writer behind True Detective, which I think is the greatest 8 episodes of television ever made. I watch it once a year. I absolutely love it. I pour over it. It speaks to me, the horror and the tragedy and the sad wasteland of the U.S. that they're in. And I love it. I think it says so much. I think it's the greatest television show ever made. So, but after reading the book, Galveston, which to my knowledge is his only main novel. He's written some short works before, and he's done a lot of editing, but I think this is the only novel he's written. I wonder how much of my love for that show comes from the director, who I can't remember his name, Japanese name, Galveston is a C tier book. The plot is very cliche. It's a criminal who in the first couple, in the first like 50 pages, he's backstabbed. He's backstabbed and double crossed. He's on the run. He's and he's just talking forever to the reader about the mistakes he's made, how he wants to do things differently, how he's got to change. And then he winds up picking up a young girl who's got her own sordid past. And then she has a sister, so there's the three of them. And he's constantly battling, do I need to protect this girl or should I just leave and do my own thing? And it just goes on and on and on. If it was 120 pages, it'd probably be a really fun pulp novel. But man, it goes on and on and on. It never shocks you. The twist you can see coming from a mile away. I just didn't think it was interesting. I saw the trailer for the movie, and it looks about as cliche as you would think. C tier, not that good. Okay, we got 17. Let's get to 20 books, and then we'll call this one part 1. Let's go with The Wind-Up Bird Chronicle by Haruki Murakami. Man. There's 2 books by Murakami I do not like, and this is one of them. I don't think it's D tier, but it is C tier. It is just so damn bloated and long, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the first 200 or 300 pages, but man, once he goes down into that well, I hated this book. It's about a sad, like unemployed former salaryman who his wife leaves him. And then he's slowly uncovering the onion of that story. And he's befriending his next door neighbor who's, I think she's like 16 or 17. She's always running around almost naked. And there's always that Murakami, you know what I'm talking about. And it's a lot of nothing happening. And when you think something might happen, it doesn't. And then he goes down into a well for a solid 90 pages or so. And he just stares at a wall and pontificates about the meaning of life and about sadness and all this stuff. And then following the last 100 pages, all of the magical realism happens. And, you've got the usual, like, Murakami thing of like, all right, I guess I'll buy that. I don't have a choice. It's his book. I'm just reading it. But, when it ends, I just literally just went like, all right, whatever, dude. You know what? It's a D tiered for me. There's one other Murakami book, and maybe I'll just throw that up there now. I'll just do that now. Killing Commendatore was also a D tier book. I hate saying that because I did like the first. Both of these books, I enjoyed the setup. I hated them for almost the same reason, and in fact, both of them have a main character who goes into a hole for about 100 pages. Same thing. The setup was really nice. There's all of this stuff going on. The first 50 pages of Killing Commendatore is really fun. His wife leaves him. He sells his stuff. He gets in a car. He drives around Japan. He meets people. He does stuff. And then the plot screeches to a complete halt. And oh my God, it's so boring and annoying and stupid and nothing happens. And then nothing happens. And then it's annoying. And then nothing happens. And it goes on and on. So these are books, like, honestly, they're probably C tier. Because I did get a good 200 pages out of them. But man, the way they drag on and they drag on and they drag on. And I remember I would flip forward just out of curiosity. I'd flip forward 80 pages and the same thing would be happening. Killing Commendatore. Both of them have a huge problem, which is there is one set in these books. Every scene takes place in essentially the same 10-meter circle, 25-foot circle. They're either in the house or they're in the yard or they're in the backyard or they're upstairs. It is brutal, and they go on for hundreds and hundreds of pages. I hate saying it. They're the only 2 Murakami books I actively don't like, but I hated these books. Let's end on a really good one, and I will end on Vera or Faith. Absolute S tier. My pick for book of the year. My pick for a book that you can actually give someone. I would never give someone American Tabloid unless I really knew them. I would hate to see them open up that book and be like, So this is what you do, Steve, But Vera or Faith, I think, is a New York Times bestseller type of book. You can give it to someone, and it is emotional. I will not lie. There were 2 points in the book, once in the middle and once in the very final 3 pages. I could not stop crying. It was so heartfelt. It's about a little girl who I believe she's 10, maybe 12. And for the record, Gary Shteyngart, one of my all-time favorite authors. I have 2 more books of his to read, but every book I read of his, I hate to say they're S tier because it really limits the S. Anyway, Gary Steingart's amazing to me, but it's his first book where the main character, as far as I know, is not a middle-aged, sad Jewish guy. This is a young, half Korean, half Jewish girl who is trying to find her place in the world. Her father is rich, but not crazy rich. They live in Manhattan in this, near future world where the Trump admin has done a lot of crazy stuff and they're ramping up on the craziest stuff. And she's trying to figure out what this all means. There's a lot of, politics of race and it's about her trying to figure out, she doesn't know her mother. She has a half brother who is the full son of her 2 parents, her dad and her stepmom. And then there's all of this politics of her father runs a blog. He's trying to sell it to this Musk type character. And then he has his arc. And then she uncovers the mystery of her own life and then goes on her own little trip. And man, every page packs such a punch. He writes this girl. I'm a teacher. I'm around kids between 9 to 13 all day, every day. And man, he nails it. How she's so curious and so shy, doesn't know what to do, but wants to do something. He nails that feeling of what children really go through. And there's enough action. There's enough intrigue. There's enough twist that keeps it going. But man, it is so heartfelt. And the ending is just so beautiful. It's one of the best endings to a novel I've ever read in my life. And I'll end this as a part 1 right there. But I plan on buying this book for at least 2 people for Christmas and saying, look, if you read 1 book, this is it. I loved it. Vera or Faith by Gary Shteyngart. And yeah, that's it. I will come back at the end of December, maybe early January with the second, or maybe I'll just do the rest of these. Maybe we'll do 3 parts. Let me know in the comments if you like these. I really want to start next year. I'd like to start, documenting my reading, I guess. I like I'm kind of modeling my idea of what I want to do off of the channel Book Pilled with Matt, where he just talks about the books that he reads. I want to do that. I try to read 50 books a year, if not more. And so, yeah, that's it. So if you like this, please let me know. And I'm going to try to upload more videos, especially starting in 2026, where I hope to do at least a video a week. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you later.